जहां लोकतंत्र है, जहां डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड है, जहां विपुल मात्रा में डिमांड है, पूरे ग्लोब पर अकेला हिंदुस्तान है जहां तीनों एक साथ मौजूद है। भारतीयों के लिए है एफडीआई, फर्स्ट डेवलप इंडिया। एक तरफ लुक ईस्ट, दूसरी तरफ लिंक वेस्ट। हमने इन दोनों को जोड़ करके हम ऐसी मध्यस्थ जगह पर खड़े हैं कि हम एक ग्लोबल विजन के साथ अपने आर्थिक संरचना को एक नए प्लेटफॉर्म पर खड़ा कर सकते हैं। सरकार होने से काम होता नहीं है, सरकार होने का एहसास होना चाहिए।
Made is always in the past. Make is about the present and the future.
We in the Tata Group remain fully committed to investing in the country and the people of India.
India is not the easiest country to do business in.
What is being launched today is actually going to be the next growth driver for India.
ये लाइन का स्टेप है, मेक इन इंडिया।
The Prime Minister spoke about make in India, but we're talking about made in India. There's a slice of India everywhere you go, and today we're broadcasting live from the delicious Saravanaa Bhavan on Lexington Avenue in New York. And let me start by talking to some of the prominent Indian Americans here who are with us on the expectations from the Prime Minister's trip. Dinesh, I'll start with asking you, what do you think could be done in terms of a change of economic policy? The Prime Minister today referred to the fact that India is 134th on the list of countries in terms of the ease or the difficulty with which business is done. What are you looking towards this new government for in terms of a change in the approach to economics?
I think we all know that what took us where we are right now would not be changed magically in 1 year. So I think we're looking for baby steps, and those could be that some projects in certain sectors could be put on fast track and clearly send a signal to the world CEOs that we are changing and Mr. Modi is serious and he's exactly starting to do again what he did in Gujarat.
Parag, do you think that this visit is suffering already from too much expectation? So at the end of the day, when the photographs have taken, when the rock star type reception has been conducted at the Madison Square Gardens, people will be left asking what are the substantive takeaways?
I think that if you're expecting something dramatically to change on the 1st of October, it's not going to happen. But what should happen is directionally things that should be said should be said. If there are policies that are going to be laid out, this is the opportunity to lay them out on as big a stage as is possible, because the New York stage is the stage that the whole world tunes into to this day. And to set policy for India, this is a fabulous stage. There's the budget speech, there's the Independence Day celebration, and then there's New York City.
All right, that's well put. But if you're saying don't expect a big ticket announcement, what should we actually expect?
I think what you should expect is the fears that business people have. As Dinesh just said, the issue is, can you accelerate the process of stuff? Let me take a trivial example, right? Not one of substance, but if you start a company in the United States, you could start one just now, and by the time your show ended, that company would be set, and by 4 p.m. today, the Secretary of State who has to sign it, manually sign it, will have signed it in the state of Delaware.
Are you serious?
I'm absolutely serious. Try it. That's why Delaware is so famous.
And how long do you think it takes in India?
Well, probably about 120 days. There's no reason why it should take that much time. Yeah. So it's those kinds of things. And I think the Prime Minister has been associated in his early steps. He's been associated. The rumors we hear are very promising. You could allege that it's micromanagement, but those are promising rumors. Now if we get a big picture thing, directionally, where are we going on taxes? Yeah. Directionally, where are we going on other important issues, trade and investment, where are we going on those? If he says things in that direction and then follows up within a reasonable period of time, I think if you follow up by the next budget, that's pretty good.
It's interesting you mentioned the budget. Now, Sidharth Birla, who's the head of FICCI, which is our main chambers of commerce, is also joining us live from India. Sidharth, you're hearing what Parag and Dinesh are saying here. There's an expectation that people understand that it'll take time. But if Mr. Modi, with his mandate, doesn't deliver on the economics front, you can't make the same excuses in a sense for him as you could for Manmohan Singh, who was politically much more limited. So I'm just asking you, what did you take away from the Make in India pitch, and what are chambers of commerce and chambers of business in India expecting from Mr. Modi's trip here to New York and Washington?
Barka, I think the Make in India event in itself, in my mind, was momentous and had some parallels to something that happened 50 years ago where we had a call of Jai Kisan, which had its own impact on India. And I think Make in India is a sort of a mission-oriented mode to increase manufacturing and thereby also provide jobs in manufacturing, in infrastructure, and in services. So I think, it's quite a composite package. So we take it positively going forward. But I'd just like to react and, in fact, join our friends from New York who are talking. I mean, they use the word baby steps. I think it's what I would say is careful steps. And I think, really speaking, you're looking at a much clearer policy framework by the time we reach the next budget. This budget was already 4 months down the line into the year with much of the money already committed. And Arun Jaitley has taken on a very, very strong challenge by promising to be disciplined with his money and hold the 4.1% deficit line. As far as the taxation and other things go, yes, certainly more certainty would be, and more and faster certainty would have been welcome. But I think we know that we live in a very noisy democracy, and I think the government is being very politically prudent in the way it is approaching the whole thing. And we've had a remarkably good session of Parliament, first session of Parliament. We are looking to a productive winter session. And whatever was promised in the budget to resolve the tax disputes have in fact begun work. Now, the expectations are directly proportional to the time media spends on a subject. And so the expectations are very high. And now we have some of the tax-related people also coming and making comments here. But I think on the ground things are moving. On the ground things are moving. And the biggest signal that will happen between now and between when the corporates really start investing, both from abroad as well as from India, is the projects that are going to be unclogged on the ground. That's the investment you'll see coming on the ground in the next 12 months.
Okay, let me get Sreenivasan in. Sree, why is this visit generating the kind of near hysteria that it is among Indian Americans?
Well, it depends. One of the things that's really surprising to me is to think how far Mr. Modi has come. If you think about where he was a few years ago vis-a-vis the United States and having trouble getting a visa to the point now where there is, as you're saying, kind of this rock star reception. Now, vast majorities of the Indian population here are super excited. There are other people also concerned about issues in India and what this could mean, his government, what kind of track record will they establish going forward.
But we've never seen this kind of reception from Manmohan Singh in the past. I mean, I've accompanied him on many, many visits. What's different?
Well, part of it is the mandate, and what he's been saying so far has been very exciting to business especially, and you'll find that Indian Americans mostly are very nationalistic and are very excited about things. When they look good for India, they think it's really good.
Dinesh, what's different about Mr. Modi? Is it just the mandate, or is it that he's making pro-business noises, as Sree says?
I think mandate validates what he has done. So people are super excited. If he can replicate the success of Gujarat for the country, I think we are all in for it. And I speak on behalf of many, many dozens of Indian CEOs in the country and Europe.
Okay, I must pause you because I'm seeing something very interesting here. ये क्या है? इधर पास में आके बताइए.
मैंगो लस्सी.
आप कहाँ से हैं?
इंडिया से.
आपको मालूम है मोदी जी आ रहे हैं? नहीं मालूम? This has to be about the only person who doesn't know. The only person who doesn't know that the Prime Minister is coming.
He was in the kitchen.
He was in the kitchen. No, but go ahead, complete your point.
I tell you what excites me.
Yes.
We've all lived and used the glorified, India for IT, which we are so excited they should continue their leadership. But India, to sustain and to feed million jobs a month, we must enter into large manufacturing base and also in development of products and innovation. In my company, India is the third largest contributor of intellectual property, and I'm very proud of it. But we have done it ourselves. We've carved out, literally created a mini India within India. I would like to see Mr. Modi sort of rolls it out for us and we are able to do what we are not able to do in many other countries.
I'm just going to come back to all three of you because we've got a full house here at Saravanaa Bhavan with mango lassi and aloo puri and dosas. And we have here one of the main organizers of Mr. Modi's visit here. We have Bharat Barai and his wife Panna. And Bharat bhai, aapse puchungi, Mr. Modi when he came to America, he came and stayed with you, aapke saath aake rahe, uske baare mein thoda bataiye.
It was in 1993 for the celebration of Swami Vivekananda's address to the World Parliament of Religion. So he and Mr. Murli Manoj Joshi, they came, and now we feel privileged that they stayed with us in 1993.
And you supported him even in all those years when he wasn't getting a visa from the United States.
To India.
Well, this was only one-time visa situation. The rest of it is really not a true story, but that's another time. What had happened was that we had organized 5 video conferences with Chief Minister Narendra Modi, the last one being on May 12, 2013, which was simultaneously telecast in 20 cities. So Mr. Modi has been very popular with the Indian American community, and whenever you organize the function, they were highly attended.
Did you organize something like this for Dr. Manmohan Singh also? And if not, what's the difference in the two leaders for you?
No, I did not organize, but I did work very closely with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh for the nuclear treaty, and I was one of the 3 people who received special citation from him.
Well, I hope you're enjoying your upma this morning. We'll come back to you, Bharat Bhai. I want to ask Panna Ben here. Panna Ben, what do you remember when Modi ji came to stay with you?
One thing that he was very simple, very humble. He did not have too much expectation. He didn't have too much baggage with him. So that really impressed me, that this man is so simple, so humble, is able to travel to United States with 22-inch carry-on bag, and still he's doing what he's doing, and still he is where he is.
And, some people describe him as very centralizing power, very dictatorial. How did you see Mr. Modi at a personal level?
I do not share the same views that he is dictatorial or anything, but he is very clear in his mind about what he wants to do. So that's why people might be looking him as a dictatorial person, but that I don't think so.
Okay, I want to just hear quick comments from anybody here on what you're wanting Mr. Modi to come here and say. What are you looking for him to come here and say?
Okay, first of all, we are very much excited about his visit, and we are looking forward for Mr. Modi to have a collaboration between India and America, and looking forward from my personal point of view, an uplift of the sanitation system in India, infrastructure development in India, and whenever we go to India, we want to make it flourish and prosper. And we want to see a very big change for the women empowerment, what's happening with our women in India.
And you believe he can reboot the relationship or give new life, new jaan as it were, to the relationship between India and America?
Absolutely. This is what this whole trip is all about. And we are looking forward for a big successful event and a visit from Narendra Bhai to USA.
Okay, let's get a comment here. What is the main expectation among Indian Americans here?
Well, we are very, very excited about his visit to the United States, but one thing I hope for, that when Prime Minister Modi addresses at the United Nations, that he speaks in English, not in Hindi.
Why do you say that? If he's more comfortable in Hindi, why can't he speak in Hindi?
I tell you what, I had the privilege of attending when Prime Minister Vajpayee came to the United Nations, and he spoke in Hindi. And his Hindi is also Shuddh Hindi. Even someone like myself, what kind of lost listening to Prime Minister Vajpayee. But when General Musharraf spoke, he brought the house down.
But shouldn't people speak in the language they're comfortable in?
That's okay, but I also heard the Italian Prime Minister speak in English, the French spoke in English at the United Nations, because they are reaching the American audience through the United Nations.
Let me put out what you've said. Sree, what do you Sree and Parag and Dinesh, what do you think? And then I'm going to come here to this table. Mr. Modi's maiden speech at the UN, does it matter what language he speaks in?
I was just going to say that I was sure the French Prime Minister wouldn't have spoken in English, but he did. So then that tells you that people do adjust. I also wanted to ask you, what's part of the hype is that the Indian press, I mean, look at this, we're all sitting here in this wonderful occasion, but Mr. Modi has not been friendly to the press. So why are the journalists in India so excited when he himself is not so excited about you?
I think there's a recognition that here is a leader with, as you said, a political mandate that is, in a sense, a watershed moment in Indian politics. And also, I think there's a sense that if anybody can, in a sense, change the environment in India, economic environment, it is Mr. Modi. As far as not talking to the media is concerned, we all live in hope, and we hope that he will talk to us sooner rather than later. But quick comments, do you think it matters what language he speaks in? Dinesh?
I don't think it does, but in this case particularly it does, because he's coming from India in a very different setup, and Indians are watching his movement here in speech, I think this signifies how confident he is that he doesn't care. He's going to speak like President from China. He spoke in Chinese, and everybody can hear his debate and speech. So I think this is fine, and he can also switch in English in different settings. But for UN speech, I'm all for him to speak in Hindi.
Parag?
I have to agree with Dinesh. I think that, there is no reason why we should not be proud of our languages and speak in those languages. This is not an occasion where you have to read the road signs. Those don't have to be in Hindi. But he should be able to speak in the language that he chooses.
Okay, I just want to get some more perspectives here. We have somebody here who's actually a member of the New Jersey Assembly, and your expectations from Mr. Modi's visit as a American politician.
Sure. As an Indian American especially, I think what's great is someone spoke to the hype versus substance question earlier. The beauty is that hype can be substantive because he comes here with an electoral mandate. And as he's speaking to our business community, it's great for them to be able to see bilateral trade and investment on the horizon. This could be one of the defining partnerships of the 21st century. In one area, on the heels of Mangalyam and the
Mars mission,
and India reaching the orbit of Mars, absolutely, as the first Asian country to do so and the first country in the world to do so on its first attempt, is that the increased scientific collaboration, knowledge workers, and trade and investment can really be bolstered if something comes out of the intellectual property protections. India has always been a country of innovation, and foreign investment can truly be realized if
You're saying American companies are looking for a more stringent intellectual property rights guarantee?
Right, just to safeguard innovation and to catalyze it, and I think that's a great area. And in terms of what America can do, we can help by increasing the H-1B visa cap, by easing restrictions on L-1 visas, so that knowledge workers can come over and Indian workers can contribute to our economy as well. So it goes both ways.
Okay, Parag, quick comment on that. The fact is that Americans talk about intellectual property rights. In India, it's seen as a giant conspiracy by gigantic pharma companies in America.
I think that the intellectual property rights, what we should adhere to is product patents, which we generally have done. I think it's going to be a while before we can agree to, especially in the area of pharmaceuticals, an area that, I recognize that there's a huge amount of research and development that goes into building a drug. People talk a lot about the billions of dollars of sales that occur when you have a successful drug. But behind that, there are billions of dollars spent on drugs that never make it. So you can see the pharmaceutical company's point of view. I think, though, protecting people by prices becomes a really important issue in some of the widely spread diseases. So you cannot have for malaria, you cannot have for AIDS, you cannot have for tuberculosis the same standards for drugs that you might have for a rare form of cancer, right? So in the latter, you could have very high prices. In the former, you cannot. And intellectual property protection is one way to deal with that. So I think certainly you can have protection up to the point of the process, which is what India does adhere to. But product, it will take more maturity. I would say the goal would be when India's GDP per capita is at the median of the world, a number that's approximately $16,000 per year today, then we are in a position to be able to afford those drugs at world prices.
Okay, Sidharth, Birla, quick last word from you before we slip into a break. You're going to be coming to Washington as well. Mr. Modi's agenda has a number of CEO meetings, a number of meetings with corporate America. What do you think they'll be looking for him to say? Because back home, Mr. Modi has been accused of not moving fast enough on economic reform.
Well, not moving fast enough. I think 4 months is too short a time to make that judgment, because on the ground we see a lot of things here, as I'm sure you have that feel also. I think basically, let's say the key would be almost everybody in the world had become a fence sitter when it came to India, and some people had actually climbed off to the other side of the fence. And I think Mr. Modi is likely to convey a very positive message to convert those fence sitters into seriously considering an investment in India. Not that they're going to cut checks tomorrow morning, but at least if they now start seriously thinking towards an investment in India, subject to A, B, and C, happening over the next 12 months, I think that would be his prime moving message to this group.
Okay, thanks for that. And Sree, it's hard to focus on the diplomacy when when the goodies are being when the goodies are being rolled out. We have a
Madras coffee is
Madras coffee right here. The Madison Square Garden event, and I'm going to get Bharat Barai on it as well. You know, for the garden to be sold out is usually the big rock stars.
Yes.
Is this a rock star reception, or do you think the media is hyping it up by calling it that?
No, I think it's certainly been. There's no other way to describe how much of an interest there is. And Dinesh's company, Harman is the one that's doing a lot of the audio there.
Is that right, Dinesh?
Yes, absolutely. The whole garden is being equipped by Harman.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But it also
so word can hear the truth. Yes.
But it's also an example of how you're seeing Indian American presence in all kinds of American things. And Dinesh's presence here and his presence at Harman is an example of that.
And Dinesh, is it like a rock, this word that's being used, rock star? It's rare to have people. People are generally cynical about politics. They're not so, excited about politicians. What's different this time?
Birla, I think rock star is not just limited anymore to the real rock stars and rock star CEOs, rock star politicians. And I think Mr.
We have
Modi
some rock star CEOs sitting here.
Mr. Modi is definitely deserved that right now, and he has to deliver, obviously, to remain rock star.
Okay, Bharat Barai, before we slip into a break, you must be going crazy because sabhi aapse pass mang rahe honge, ek ticket mang rahe honge Madison Square Garden ke liye.
First, I want to describe the reception as a culture star, not rock star.
As a cultural event.
It will be the projection of India's cultural event. I'm not going to tell everything what we are going to be showing there.
Yes.
No, I'm not going crazy. People do want to come. It's very gratifying to see that every day I'm getting hundreds of requests, even now after the registration closed on the 7th.
So they're going to be, 20,000 people almost?
Yes.
And then beaming live at Times Square and everywhere else.
It will be beamed live in the Times Square because we could not accommodate all these people who wanted to come. So we thought that this is another opportunity for people to watch him live. And there will be translation. Yes, there are many people who are going to come, will receive the headphones if they want to receive in English. And we are also going to show it on Times Square, and they will be able to hear his voice by calling phone.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just to say on this rock star reception, I want to say it is not the reception which has been told by the government of India to do. These are the Indians living, the NRIs living in America. They want to show how much we love.
Okay, so that's a spontaneous.
Our side, so show the.
This has nothing to do with the government.
Nothing to do with the government. These are the people, the NRIs. They are the one who are doing this reception to show the strength.
So you want to add to that?
I think we have waited for 30 years. The Indian American first generation. We have been working with the political government in Washington to bridge the gap between India and here. And I think it's time the Indian government recognizes the young generation. Our young generation are entrepreneurial, they're dynamic, and I think economy is the main force which is bringing the two communities together, India and America.
Okay, I want to take a quick break, but one thought from you. What do you want to hear at Madison Square Garden? What do you want to hear Mr. Modi talk about?
I think India and US are perfect partners in the world, and I want to see him talk more about the Indians, support from Indians in America, and our relationship going forward between India and America would be a new height.
All right, we are going to, at this point, take a break, and there's lots of good food and a lot of people to talk to still. We'll be coming back in just a moment from now in the special broadcast live from New York. It's about 9:30, 9:40 at night, I guess, in India. It's a rainy morning here in New York, but we're at the Saravanaa Bhavan. There's a slice of India everywhere you go. Coming back in just a moment from now with our special coverage of Namoste America. Welcome back. You're watching the special broadcast of the Buck Stops here, coming to you live from New York on a rainy morning here in the United States of America. But it's time to say Namoste America, or rather Namoste America. Namo is coming to the United States of America, and the excitement has reached a fever pitch. We're broadcasting from the Saravanaa Bhavan and talking politics and diplomacy and economics over steaming hot idlis and dosas. And we have here somebody who works in Saravanaa Bhavan. Where are you from?
Chennai.
And do you know Mr. Modi is coming?
Yes, I know.
And are you excited?
Yeah.
Will you want to go and hear him?
Yes, I know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you like about him?
I like Everything.
You like everything. You like everything. Okay, so clearly Mr. Modi is in a honeymoon period right now.
No, I don't think he's on a honeymoon period. He's on the job and he's always one up, and he's on the business mission. And a lot of expectations are there. I represent a small and medium scale industry from India. And I'm here. I've come all the way from India because I find a lot of enthusiasm here in the business.
Absolutely, and that enthusiasm we can see. Let's just come this side and talk to some of the women here who are also, I think, very excited. What do you want to hear him talk about at Madison Square Garden?
See, I would like him to talk about something about brain drain. Actually, we have a small group of people. We were trying to put something like 40-40-40 for him, like 40 people under 40 and having 40 things how we can make India better by our expertise and whatever we have been doing here. And we wanted to have some time with him. So we would love if he can talk, like how can we stop brain drain.
As a young woman, what do you have to say?
I'm actually expecting him to actually talk about the education here and then the international students and how they actually suffer here when they come here.
Suffer in what way?
Like we don't get the scholarships that we need and then we don't get any support from Indian government. Like for other countries, the countries actually support the students for their the pay, the fees and everything. So I would want him to take care of the education system here and as well as in India. So.
Okay, that's a perspective from a younger generation, and I'm going to get last comments from Sree, Dinesh and Parag. But here is somebody who actually owns this wonderful place here in New York, Saravanaa Bhavan. And what is best to eat here, by the way?
Oh, everything.
No, you must have a favorite. You must have a favorite dish.
Well, I would say a diabetes.
Okay. Now, what are your expectations? I mean, clearly this is not just about any one community that's waiting to hear Mr. Modi. It's everybody, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, first I have to thank everybody to, coming here. I have a special request for him.
Yes.
He's here to promote the business. And I want him to concentrate a little more on the food business.
On the food business?
And the industry. We are in 14 countries.
Yes.
And this is the only country we have such a difficulty in getting a visa. And we have 7 branches in the United States. Tomorrow, we can have 70 branches here if they can do a little open up what's really holding up on these.
That's a very important point, and I want Parag and Dinesh and Sree to come in on that. Parag, the immigration bill is seen to be something that's not friendly to Indians. I've heard now 2-3 people this morning talk about how difficult it is for Indians to come and work here. So why do we talk about India and US being strategic partners and having this great commonality and sharing democracy in a sense as a common virtue? And why is it so difficult, given all that, for Indians to work here?
I think we've got to solve the bigger problem that they see, which is problem of people, undocumented workers, and how to deal with that. And if we can help them see that what we're talking about is very talented workers coming in to do a specific job, not displacing American jobs, but really replacing talent that isn't available, we could solve the problem. But you need to support that. Now, what the Indian community should do, and what the Prime Minister can do, is to mobilize that community, mobilize all the people in this room here, essentially to go to their legislators, to go to their senators and to say, look, here is what we are looking for, and this will help you because it will help American businesses. If we can communicate in the point of helping an American business, helping Harman, helping Microsoft, fill jobs that are needed, not take away an undocumented farm worker job, the problem will be seen in a very different light.
But Dinesh, there's some talk that one of the announcements that could be made is visa on arrival for Americans. But a number of Indians who study here or who want to work here would be disappointed that there isn't reciprocity in a sense of that kind of visa regime. How much of a thorn on the Indian American side or on the Indian side is the visa issue?
I think not just Indian side, I would speak on the bigger picture, as you just said, as Parag actually said very well. I think business community is very frustrated with the bipartisan no decision coming out. They both get it, that they need to do, because we have short supply of whether we talk about restaurant industry or engineering or medical space. So it's widely misunderstood at the public face. People get it, reality. I think it's been a thorn, and it needs to be resolved. And this is one area I think a Prime Minister can have a one-on-one discussion with President Obama and say, look, this is something holding up our growth, bilateral growth. And if it is done in a stepwise approach, we can help America solve this problem.
Okay, Sree, it hasn't been a great time for Indo-US relations. There's the Devyani Khobragade controversy. There's the nuclear deal that's kind of stuck because of India's insistence on nuclear liability. There's also some Indians who will say that, you know, we may identify more in some values with the Democrats, but the Republicans have always been friendlier to India. Do you think that's a real concern with President Obama here?
Well, I think this idea that Democrats have taken the Indian American community for granted is certainly something to consider. But there are concrete things that can happen to make all these Indians excited about, Indian Americans excited about India. What you mentioned, the visa.
Yeah.
Going the other way is not easy, and you have to jump through a lot of hoops to do that. And then coming here, we just saw some stats about Indian students in the United States, and you heard the young lady very eloquently talk about some of the issues. But we have 100,000 Indian students in the United States. 15% of all students in America are from India. 25% are from China. So that gives you a sense also of the India, China, and how we can make sure that the Indian students are supported when they come here.
Okay, one of the things as we are ending that we haven't spoken about is the Americans, Sree, are a bit perplexed. Mr. Modi is going to be fasting throughout his visit here. How is this dinner going to happen? Is President Obama going to eat while Mr. Modi is sipping nimbu pani? Well, I'm going to ask Panna then about this, but what do you think?
I can't wait to see what he does.
But I mean, what do you think is going to happen? How is this going to be handled? Because you all also can't offer him any khana. It's Navratri season.
Probably just the limbu pani as you said, and just the water, which is room temperature, but that's how it is. He's not going to change.
What will President Obama do? Well, he will not eat?
Well, I guess he will eat. He knows by now that Prime Minister Modi is not going to eat. And he will have to accept it because
let me ask you,
he's doing this fasting for so many years.
You know, I'm looking at this aloo puri and thinking, how does anyone fast? It takes a great amount of discipline. Since both of you personally know Mr. Modi, Bharat, how would you describe Mr. Modi? Many things have been said about him, his critics, his supporters. It is said that as Prime Minister, Mr. Modi will surprise both his critics and his supporters because he is going to write a very different script from what is expected of him.
Well, he's a very dynamic man. He is very committed. He has a vision for India. He knows his mission to improve the standard of living for the people of India. And I think he has passion. And yes, he's going to surprise his critics so much more. His supporters know who he is. And I think the supporters will be vindicated.
Okay, last comments, literally 30 seconds each, Sree.
I just see one of my
are you live tweeting through this show?
No,
okay.
One of my friends says, watching you live on NDTV, there seems to be a lot of hype on the visit. Is it worth it?
Okay, answer that.
Well, I think that there is certainly lots of hype, and it'll all be about the results. And it's not just Mr. Modi, right? It's the entire government of India and the huge bureaucracy that has to respond and to say, we will support these ideas. Only then will India be able to change.
Dinesh, do you worry that, you know, after all the great photographs are done and the great, in a sense, the optics of this trip are obviously going to be fantastic. But do you worry that after that there will be nothing substantive to hold on to?
I do worry, which I hope I'm wrong. Will our Prime Minister stay the course? He has said all the right things. And I know he's well intended and he wants to do it.
Yes.
But there will be lots of resistance from within his party and from opposition. Will he stay the course? And that will test his determination, and I hope he comes through.
Parag, what's the one thing you want him to do or say on this trip to the United States of America?
I think we are at a point in the mission between Indo-US relations where we should bury the differences in the sub-quarters. Bury the differences on the US side, bury the differences on the Indian side, and see how can we make this work. It's something that we've talked about, dreamt about, you know, from my childhood, listening to rock music, you know, to now. Now, how do we make that happen in a meaningful way when globalization is really happening? When we are getting messages right now from our friends who are watching us on TV in India. Yeah. If we can do that, can we not get a better version of communication here? The problems are very simple.
Is the India story going to be resurrected? Just yes, or no,
yes.
no.
Yes.
Strongly yes.
Strongly yes.
Strongly yes.
Strongly yes. Do you all think there's a chance for the India story to get resurrected? Well, a great moment, a great mood of optimism here among the Indian Americans. But this is a trip that has been overloaded, some would say, with expectations. And to that extent, Mr. Modi will have to go beyond the optics and the great photographs. One line, I've got to...
One line. I want NDTV to open a studio here to really
NDTV
start
logo.
covering. Absolutely. From New York.
That is a good idea.
Absolutely.
We do need, and
Live from New York.
And I volunteer.
We want you here, Bharat.
I volunteer to move to New York when it's time. It's at NDTV studio in New York, and I volunteer. Okay, lots of laughter and mirth here, but serious talk about why there isn't an NDTV full-fledged bureau here. And like I said, China has one, and who wouldn't volunteer to transfer to the Republic of New York, as it's called. But that's it on the program tonight. For the next 5 to 6 days, we'll be broadcasting live from New York and Washington every night at 9 p.m. with our special series, Namoste America. Namo is in America.
You are the rock star.